as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in 888-982525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. It's great to have you with us on this hot Wednesday night. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel from our studios here in downtown Columbia. We'll be joined by Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace in Sardis in a little bit. Matt Smith from the ACC Kickoff in Charlotte. He'll be joining us as well here in just a little bit. We'll hear from more coaches in Charlotte today. Here in Columbia, talking season continued for Shane Beamer. He hosted his annual Birdies with Beamer golf tournament, and that was out at Cobblestone Park in Blythewood. Beautiful, beautiful golf course. And it was indeed a battle of man against nature. And Mother Nature, she never loses because it was, as you might imagine. And listen, I feel for the real workers of the world who are out in this heat, I don't know, putting on a roof somewhere, putting down some pavement somewhere, doing the real work, not the sissy stuff that we do. But the way we play golf is like, it's like digging a ditch. It's like breaking up concrete. It's hard work out there, especially, when you're having to carry 3 other people on your back on your team, which, hey, what can I say? We did finish. We didn't finish last, but we finished next to last. But it was a lot of fun. We stunk. And I say that, of course, in a gleeful, joyful, find your joy kind of way. But we had a lot of fun. Jody Wright, USC tight ends coach, is just a hoot. I mean, he is a hoot. And he's a really good tight ends coach. He must spend a lot of time working on his football. Okay, you see, some football coaches have really good golf games, and you wonder how much time they spend working on their football. There's no question that Coach Wright spends a lot of his time, most of his time, working on his football. Okay, you catch my message there. Hale McGranahan of the Big Spur, he was along for the ride, and he hit some good balls. And like yours truly, he hit some good balls and some not so good balls. So we had a terrific time. And our fourth member was a member of the Gamecock coaching staff, Trey Money, who is a GA working on the defensive side and out of Appalachian State, and he will be on the defensive side. He's an analyst. I'm sorry. He's moved up from GA to analyst. Let me get that right. That's a step up. And he's a pretty good golfer. When he hits it, it takes off. So he actually carried us. He's the one that should have the shoulder surgery after carrying the 3 of us. We did not finish last. We finished, like I said, next to last. There's no joy in that. Sterling Sharp's team with Harold Green. Sterling Sharp and Harold Green, they always play together, and they always win. They shot 53, which was 19 under par. Now, bogey was your friend. Yeah, bogey was your friend. You had to pick it up once you got to where you were going to make bogey. So bogey was your top score. 19 under par. I mean, that's all birdies and an eagle thrown in there as well. It's just not fair. It's Sterling. I don't know how good a golfer Harold Green is. I imagine he might be pretty good. I know Sterling Sharp is an excellent golfer, just a great athlete, even at his advanced age. And he wins it all the time. So anyway, you're playing for second when you're with those guys. But it was a lot of fun. Terrific lunch afterwards. Steve Fink and his crew over at USC did a tremendous job putting it together. And then we had about a half-hour question and answer session with Beamer. And then you had an opportunity to visit with any of the assistant coaches, excuse me, who were there. So I talked to the 2 coordinators. And so tonight we'll bring you Shane Beamer, and then we'll have the coordinators coming your way as well. So that was my day. Let's go to Charlotte, where Matt Smith has been on hand today for day 2 of the ACC kickoff. How was it?
Well, it was interesting today. Not as interesting as your day, obviously. I think we should take up hour 2 with what happened on the back nine.
I echo those sentiments. I would love to hear why Phil didn't get a better eraser for his pencil like Sterling Sharp has.
You got a pencil whip, Sterling. But yes, here at the Westin in Uptown Charlotte, Corn, we heard from Mike Norvell, Pat Narduzzi from Mike Norvell from Florida State, Pat Narduzzi from Pitt, Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, Tony Elliott from Virginia, and Mike Elko from Duke. And that's who Clemson opens the season with. So I think that's the one that Clemson fans will be most intrigued by, his comments. And I think we all lived through it, but Duke going 9-4 last season in the manner that they did was truly fascinating. And Elko did a tremendous job. And here's the thing about them. It was not a senior-laden team. They have a ton of talent returning, and so does Florida State. And I know that's also a team that Clemson fans have their eyes on and are always tuned into. How, Florida State, will they bounce back? Will they come back? I'll say this. Corn, you brought up a great point yesterday about winning the room and being, interesting or winning the media over. Mike Norvell could bore a hyena. I don't know how he recruits.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on. And it wasn't just me. I mean, other media members were visibly snoring while Mike Norvell was talking. But here's what we know. That guy has got some talent, and not all of it is Florida born and bred. We shouldn't forget this. 2 Gamecocks, Gilbert Edmond and Jaheim Bell, are now Florida State Seminoles. So whatever he does when he's one-on-one, he can close the deal because Florida State has got talent. And we talked yesterday about teams that could potentially play spoiler to Clemson, Corn.
Yeah.
Florida State is on the rise. There's no two ways about it. They're a 10-win team from a year ago, and they've accrued a lot of talent, and they've got a lot of players coming back. I believe 7 offensively and 8 defensively. Think about that. That's a 10-win team with 15 starters returning and a coach back in place and a quarterback back in place. Watch out.
Yeah, I thought Florida State coming into this season, after what I saw from them last year, their improvement, their gradual improvement under Norvell, did not have a good first year, took a big step forward last year, and they feel like with the quarterback coming back, running back coming back, the overall talent on their team, the transfers they've taken, that they can make a big step forward. He was 3-6. I'm sorry, he was 5-7 in 21, and then he was 10-3 last year. So that's not a bad start for him. Actually, I get this is his 4th year, so we go back to 20. So his first year was the COVID year, and he went 3-6, then he went 5-7, then he went 10-3. So they have gotten better year after year, and I think they will be the team to challenge Clemson in the ACC with Jordan Travis back. Trey Benson is back. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, they add him at tight end. That's a big pickup. Most of their offensive line, if not all their offensive line, returns. And on defense, they return a bunch of starters. 9 starters back on defense, 8 on offense. So, yeah, I think Florida State has every right to feel like they can challenge Clemson. Now, in New Orleans today, Coastal Carolina was meeting or is still meeting with the media down there. I think they had the late afternoon slot. Did they not, Chris?
They did. They went last. Tim Beck actually joked, I guess the first-year head coach gets the last slot. So I think they're done by now. But he broke some major news, Phil. Coastal is not going to have a quarterback controversy going into the fall.
Okay. What a surprise. What a surprise. Was that his
Yes.
joke? Was that his opening joke?
Yes, Tim Beck has jokes, and that one was the fact that, yes, Grayson McCall will be their starter. That about as unsurprising as Frank Reich up in Charlotte today announcing that Bryce Young will be the starting quarterback going into fall camp for the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which was less of a surprise, but, yeah, that was sort of how Tim Beck started off his opening remarks. Grayson McCall actually talking with some media earlier in the day mentioned that he's gained about 20 pounds of what he calls good weight. And for a young man who has spent a good bit of time on the sidelines with injuries, he says he feels about as good as he could possibly feel heading into fall, which is great news for Chanticleer fans, not good news for everybody else in the Sun Belt.
Well, listen, if you're Tim Beck, that is such a bonus to walk into a situation where you've got a quarterback like Grayson McCall waiting for you. All you've got to do is implement your offense and get him on board with it and, teach him the intricacies of that offense and let him play.
Oh, absolutely. And Grayson talked very glowingly. He and JT Killen, two of their redshirt seniors, Killen, a linebacker on defense, who probably has the best hair on the team. He's got the long hair, not necessarily the mullet. He's just got long hair. And the Grayson was sporting the mullet today. But they talked about how they've really bought in. They really like what Tim Beck and his staff have brought to the table. Tim Beck talked glowingly about the off-season weight program, which is evident when your quarterback picks up 20 pounds of not just fat, but good weight, as Grayson touched on. And they said they're really excited about what is coming. They've made a lot of changes in terms of the transfer portal and the like on the defensive side of the ball, and they feel like they're going to be better there too. So everything, as is normally the case when Shane Beamer talked at SEC Media Days, as Dabo Sweeney will talk later this week at ACC Media Days, everybody's undefeated right now, and everybody's excited about the season, and you can lump CCU into that category.
Yep, that is the purpose of talking season, is to talk it all up and get it all out. South Carolina will begin practice a week from Friday. They got a few more days to work in the weight room and on training, and I think the players are going to be able to get home this coming weekend, come back, put in a few more days, then they'll be ready to go with the opening of camp on Friday, and I think Clemson will be starting at about the same time. Coastal will be starting at about the same time. So end of next week, we should get rolling with the practices, and that'll be a lot of fun as well. Pat, what you got?
Hey, man, hope everybody's doing well tonight. We have a bit of a national story that's breaking over the last half hour that I think we ought to at least mention here. Tell me if you haven't heard this before. Colorado, who famously left the Big 12 to join the Pac-10 at the time back in 2010, they officially joined in 2011, are now looking to leave the Pac-12 and officially rejoin the Big 12. Apparently, the Big 12 is holding an emergency president and chancellor's meeting tonight, which they are thinking they will come to a decision on Colorado's future, whether to re-accept them into the Big 12 in the next day or two. So we may have news here officially by as soon as Friday. And this just adds to, of course, Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, UCLA and Southern Cal joining the Big 10. I'm trying not to get all these confused because the numbers associated with these conferences is all changing now. And then, of course, San Diego State, which tried to leave the Mountain West, then decided to re-enter the Mountain West, but now the Mountain West is officially viewing them as no longer a member of the conference and has actually been withholding their revenue distribution this year of $6.5 million. There is a lot of conference realignment drama happening right now.
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, it happens all the time. These people can never be satisfied. They can't be satisfied with the teams they have. The teams in the leagues can't be satisfied because they want to go somewhere else. They think the grass is greener. They can make more money. And then there's this story. I thought this was the one you're going to bring up, Pat, when you said, stop me if you've heard this before. Stop me if you've heard this before. Former players' staff revealed troubling allegations of toxic culture under P.J. Fleck at Minnesota.
What is the deal with the Big Ten?
Several players interviewed described a cult-like atmosphere since Fleck arrived at the school. Minnesota Athletic Department says claims workouts were used as punishments are, quote, not true. This is being reported by Front Office Sports in an exclusive story. And anyway, you can look it up if you want to. Over the last month, they write, Front Office Sports interviewed several former players and staff members about Fleck's 6 seasons as the Gophers head coach. They described an environment fraught with intimidation and toxicity and referenced the, quote, Fleck Bank, quote, end quote, a system that allowed players with enough coins to get away with positive drug tests and other violations of team rules. The Fleck Bank tracked community service, including visiting patients at the University of Minnesota Medical Center with Fleck, and was a way to keep tabs on players' studying habits, multiple former players said. 2 former players said those who provided information on other players were given Fleck Bank credits. And on and on. You know what? I don't want to read all of this, but I mean, here we go again. Here we go again with another expose by players giving you information who are no longer in a program, who want to, well, I can't say it's bad. I mean, if it's bad, it needs to be exposed. Just like at Northwestern, if that's true and it's bad, it needs to be exposed. Same thing here, but nobody ever saw this before involving P.J. Fleck. I think he was a guy who was highly regarded. We'll be back in a moment.
Dumpster Plus is your solution to a more cost-effective and professional work site. Dumpster Plus provides a roll-off dumpster and porta-john in one. Give them a call at 803-500-5094 and ask them about 2 services for the price of 1. It's 1 call, 1 delivery, 2 services. Locally owned and operated in Columbia, and that means you'll talk to a real live local person, ready to get what you need with a 24-hour turnaround guaranteed. Whether your worksite is residential or commercial, big or small, near or far, you'll save money with Dumpster Plus. Waste management solutions never look so good. Call Dumpster Plus at 803-500-5094. That's 803-500-5094 for Dumpster Plus.
It all builds up to this at Darlington Raceway.
If you're going to kick off the playoffs, why not do it big?
Green flag is up.
Like Labor Day weekend big.
That's how you make a move. And around goes Truex.
Like Southern 500 big. The only thing bigger than the action will be the experience of seeing it live.
Tight.
NASCAR Playoffs weekend at Darlington Raceway, September 2nd and 3rd. Get your tickets today at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Have you turned on the fun? Try Cashpop from the South Carolina Education Lottery. Pick one number from 1 to 15, win up to $2,500, or play all 15 numbers, and you're guaranteed to win. Play twice a day to double your fun. It really is that easy. Visit sclottery.com to get the details. Cashpop. It's the light of the party.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Summer weather has arrived in South Carolina, and you know what that means. Sweet, tasty South Carolina peaches are hitting shelves near you. Most people tend to think of Georgia as the peach state, but South Carolina is the East Coast's top producing peach state, so we know a thing or two about a great tasting peach. The next time you're in the grocery store or local farmer's market, keep an eye out for those sweet, tasty certified SC peaches. Discover more about the tastier peach state at scpeach.org.
Phone number on Sports Talk, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number. Did you know that since 2002, more than $2.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund life scholarships for the state's college-bound students? Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins. And playing for fun is a win for education. Phone calls coming up. Couple lines are open. Feel free to grab. So I'm thinking about South Carolina, and I don't know, guys. Smitty, you're talking about a situation. Shane Beamer, and you'll hear from him a little bit later. Shane Beamer talked about their offensive line, and basically they cross-trained everybody to play multiple positions. So, like, I got the feeling from his comments today, it's like all the positions on the offensive line are basically open as they go into camp, and then they'll determine their top 8 guys and then plug in guys at various positions. So I mean, certain guys played certain positions in the spring. I'm wondering if they're going to kind of scrap that and rework things here in camp and come up with the top 8. And then the other question is about the running game. I mean, they aspire to do some great things this year, and they have, of course, the quarterback and the receivers to make it happen. But how can you think offensively that you're going to be dynamic when you don't really have your offensive line in place solidly? At least that appears to be the case. And then number 2, you really don't know what you have at running back. I think the Kerryon Joyner right now is going to be the number 1 guy going into camp. And you got Juju McDowell, and then you've got the transfer Mario Anderson, and then you've got the freshman in Braswell. Then you got some walk-ons. So, I mean, how can you have it take an offense and make it great with those kind of big question marks looming over you?
It's tough. Court, I think you bring up a couple of really good points. You know, I'll use an example from today listening to Mike Elko from Duke about why the Blue Devils were able to turn it around. And it's because he feels like they were able to run the football in past years. They were not able to do that. Well, imagine Spencer Rattler with a running game. I mean, really, just imagine that arm talent, the talent on the outside with Juice Wells and others, and imagine he's facing 8 in the box. He would pick you apart. It would look like the Tennessee game 12 weeks a year. That is what a running game can do for you. And Corn, I will tell you, I have talked to many offensive. It's one of my favorite questions to ask offensive linemen. You know, the old hog mollies. Is it better to get the right 5 guys or just get get 5 guys and put them in a position in spring and just let them work together? And I have heard over and over from guys that have actually put their hands in the dirt. They have told me, once you get your 5, settle on it, and then it's like hands in a glove. Those 5 guys need to work together. So it's not always just about having 5 guys that can play together. It's not having Orlando Pace and Anthony Munoz playing on the same line together. It's about everybody understanding their roles so that they can get themselves mentally equipped to play right guard or left guard or right tackle or whatever the case may be. But those 5 guys need to work in unison. Shane Beamer knows this, and it's always just a red flag to me that when you're this far along and you're about to embark on fall camp, that you don't have the 5 guys settled on the 5 positions. I think you're asking the right questions. Can South Carolina run the football, and can they block in the run game? It's not just about talent. Everybody knows South Carolina has talent, but you're going to be facing Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and Clemson, teams that have recruited at a high level in the front 7 defensively. You got to get that running game figured out, and you got to get it figured out now if you want Spencer Rattler to be the quarterback we all know he could be.
Chris, your take.
Well, and I guess my question to you would be, Phil, do you think they had a plan in place going into the spring game, and then when Jalen Nichols got hurt, that plan got blown up, and they just haven't figured out a way to solve it as of right now? But the thing that strikes me is if Jalen Nichols were in the mix at left tackle, maybe they had their plan in place. But without him there, you start having, as Smitty pointed out, you go from having 5 guys who can work as one cohesive unit. Now you have to figure out a way to try and plug and play at one of the most critically important parts on the entire team.
Good point. And one name we haven't mentioned, we were talking about the offensive line last week, and a player I didn't mention is Jackson Hughes, former starting tackle at Charlotte who transferred in the offseason. Now, he hasn't gone through practice. He's gone through the offseason conditioning with them because he didn't get in till the summer. So you look at the left tackle situation right now. I mean, you've got Ja'Kai Moore, you've got Sidney Fuger, you've got Jackson Hughes, and then you move across the line, you got Nick Gargiulio and where he might play. He can play center or guard. You got Vershawn Lee, who can play guard or center. You got Trey Jones, who can play tackle or guard, and you got Tyshawn Wanamaker, who can play tackle or guard, and then you got some of the backup players like Marquis Anderson, Oluwatosin, Babalati, Jatavius Shivers, Trovon Ball to be worked in. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cooling down to 73 overnight. Will stay clear tomorrow. Very hot and very sunny with high temp topping out at 96 and a feels like temp of 103. We'll stay sunny and dry through the work week. By Saturday and Sunday, we'll get about a 30% chance of rain to go with highs near 100 degrees. Stay well hydrated. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point Local Weather.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Is it time for a new lawn? You need to start with a smooth grade done right. Then a must is a new Rainbird irrigation system that comes complete with a 1-year warranty. We will then help you know what turf is right for your yard. Tiff-Tuff Bermuda is a great turf for full sun. Then let the pros maintain your whole property and keep your new grass green and healthy and weed-free. At Midlands Landscape and Lawns, we hate weeds. So that's why you can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has told reporters that he's fine after he appeared to freeze up during a news conference with other Republican leaders following their weekly party luncheon Wednesday afternoon. McConnell was in the middle of speaking about the National Defense Authorization Act when he seemed to freeze up. Fellow Republican leaders helped McConnell back to his office. The plea deal in Hunter Biden's criminal case unraveled during a court hearing Wednesday after a federal judge raised concerns about the terms of the agreement that has infuriated Republicans who believe the president's son is getting preferential treatment. Hunter Biden was charged last month with 2 misdemeanor crimes of failure to pay more than $100,000 in taxes from over $1.5 million in income in both 2017 and 2018. More details at srnnews.com.
In July, stop by Columbia's most established gun shop and indoor range. Stop by Shooter's Choice. They have the very best selection in the Midlands for firearms, the most professional staff of experts, and they are proudly serving Columbia now for more than 30 years. Oh, and about those folks I was talking about from Shooter's Choice, they're actual hunters, they're shooters, they're firearm experts, and they'll steer you in the right direction, the direction that best fits your needs. Try getting that in a big box store. Nope. At Shooter's Choice, they are celebrating our nation's freedoms, whether it's personal defense, home security, target precision shooting, or you just love to get out and go hunting. Come check out some incredible July deals. Firearms, ammo, scopes, even South Carolina's best gun safe selection. If you can't make it in, visit ShootersChoiceSC.com or come on by and see them. Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make your first choice your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
COVID impacted all of us. In the manufactured home industry, prices increased significantly. Manufacturers limited floor plans and cut options. At Lexington Discount Homes, we battled through it, and now things are much better. Homes are much more affordable, and we've got a huge selection. So if you're ready for a beautiful manufactured home, visit Lexington Discount Homes at 1847 Augusta Highway. We'll give you superior customer service from start until the day that you move in. Visit us online at lexingtondiscounthomes.com or give us a call at 951-1900.
Are you getting a tax refund? You've been waiting to put those new hardwood floors in? Or is it that luxury vinyl plank that's so hot right now? It's time to call the flooring department. Stretch your dollars here. The flooring department doesn't have a huge multi-million-dollar showroom to pay for. They keep your prices down and your quality up. Look, we all buy from the same manufacturers, so why pay more? Online at theflooringdepartment.com or call 951-3567. That's 951-FLOR.
Why just talk about something? Why not just do it? I went online to dominionenergy.com/SC, signed up on the Save Energy tab to have these folks come on out, haul away my old refrigerator for free. Oh, and by the way, they paid me $50 to do this. It was easy. They showed up on time, threw the old fridge on a cart, they hauled it away. I didn't have to do a thing except sit and wait for my check. A couple weeks later, I got my check, made space getting rid of an old appliance I wasn't even using. It's that simple. Go to dominionenergy.com/SC. Sign up today.
Yeah, you know what it is.
All right, we promised some phone calls. Let's get to it. 888-898-2525. We'll hear from some coaches coming up, including Shane Beamer, here in just a little bit. We appreciate your phone calls, your thoughts on what we're talking about, or anything else you want to bring up. You are welcome to do so. Again, the phone number, 888-898-2525. Let's go to Gamecock Larry right here in Swansea. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. Hope you're doing well tonight, sir.
Well, I just got back from that emotion where my fell and busted my hand and all that. You done it yesterday and I wouldn't go to the doctor. But they all got up there, so I finally went out there. And I had a Tar Heel doctor.
Oh, my goodness.
Had a Tar Heel doctor, had a Buckeye nurse, and they fixed it up and sold it up and done it everything. I'm okay.
Good.
Well, let me tell you, he gave me some fodder, talking trash fodder. I ain't going to have to worry too much about the SEC. I can talk trash about, I said I wasn't going to talk no trash about Clemson. But I'm going to talk trash about North Carolina. I can talk trash about old Dr. Klein. I'm going to talk trash. I told him, I said, we're going to lay 50 on you. He said, what are you going to do? We lay 51. I said, well, we'll have to think about that. But I tell you, I'm doing okay, but I can't get into trash talking. We got to.
Well, you gotta pace yourself, Larry. It's way early. You still got 6 weeks to go before the season gets underway. 5 weeks, and you got to pace yourself now. And then you gotta have something to trash talk about. What happens if the Tar Heels do beat the Gamecocks? Not saying that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, I don't think it's going to happen. But what if it happens?
That's the least of my worry. And when we can confuse Phil, we can confuse the opposition. So we got Phil asking Pat about what about this, what about think of this or think of that. We done confuse Phil what we doing. So we got everything. Oh, Beamer done fooled my buddy Phil. Beamer got him fooled. But I ain't gonna talk no trash. I'm just gonna hang out. But I had to. Boy, I tell you what, man, go out there and have to talk to a doctor. And when I said his name and I asked him, was he a Tiger? He said, no, I'm a Tar Heel. I said, oh, Lord, I better be quiet. I said, because if I talk too much trash, he might put me somewhere I don't want to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back home. But let me tell you, I love all y'all, but I'm going to talk trash. I'm going to think about something. But I will say one thing. We got Phil fooled. We can fool old Brown. Go Gamecocks.
All right. Hey, listen, and thank you, Larry. Glad you're feeling better. Take care of the hand and everything else. They fooled Mac Brown 2 years ago in the bowl game? He admitted as much. He said, we didn't have any idea what they were going to do with the carry-on Joyner. We had no defense for it. And Joyner ran wild against them. And they fooled Mac once. Maybe they'll fool him twice. I mean, look, I bring it up because it was something that Beamer said today at his press conference. It just struck me as a little bit being odd that here at the beginning of camp that you're settled, but you're not settled. I mean, you know who your guys are, and you know that they can work different positions, and you feel like you have that flexibility to move them around and to use them in different spots depending on the situations. And maybe that flexibility makes you stronger up front as an offensive lineman. I'll say this. I mean, they've got a great deal of experience among these offensive linemen. Moore's played a lot. Gargiulo, of course, played a lot at Yale. Lee's played a lot. Jones has played some. And Wanamaker's played a pretty good bit. So it's an experienced group up front for the Gamecocks. Question is, can they mold them together into a solid a cohesive and strong offensive line?
That's a fascinating question, and one that will only be sort of revealed once they get into the season opener against the North Carolina defense that I think we all understand is not going to be one of the best ones they see all season. And Phil, too, since we're talking about this from the run game perspective in general, aside from the offensive line, even if you've got a well-versed and well-experienced and solid offensive line, that running back core, is that still the bigger question? I mean, outside of Juju McDowell, who we know what he can do behind the offense, I don't know what to expect from Dakereon Joyner. We certainly don't know what Mario Anderson is going to bring to the table after being really, really good at Newberry. Maybe he makes that transition pretty well, but it was at Newberry at a Division II program as opposed to what he's going to see now. So I think even you can take the offensive line off the top list of major question marks. I still think it's the running back room is the biggest question they have going into fall.
Yeah, I mean, those are two big question marks. That's not necessarily a good thing. I don't see it as a good thing to have those kind of questions in front of you so close to the start of the season. And they just haven't been able to resolve it yet to their satisfaction. And maybe Dakereon Joyner is going to be the answer. Talking to Dowell Loggins, he believes that Joyner will be a very fine running back for them, but he also knows that Joyner can't be a guy that's going to be able to take the pounding game in and game out at running back going through an SEC schedule. That's why the idea, the concept is to have multiple. Now, he did say that if he's calling a game and he has a running back who gets red hot carrying the football, he's going to ride that guy. You know how running backs are. They kind of get in a rhythm. They kind of get their confidence going. They kind of get rolling. And he'll feed that guy, he says, as long as a guy has got it going in a series or a couple of series, they'll ride that guy as long as they can. But he also believes they've got to have more than one to turn and hand the football off to. Phone number 888-898-2525. Let's go to Keith in Camden. Next up on the program. Keith, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. It's good to have you with us.
Good. I think the biggest concern is do we have anybody that can consistently run in between the tackles? That's my concern with the running back room. And then your partner brought it up. Just as important with a right-handed quarterback is the left tackle spot. But I don't think it's unrealistic to think that, and I may be wrong. What is Joyner's true size, weight?
Dakereon Joyner's true size and weight. Okay, give me a second. I can look it up off the top of my head. I don't know. Anybody happen to know off the top of their head?
No, but but Keith, the point you're making is not what he's listed by, but how big a guy is he? And Jordan's not a big guy.
I don't think he can run between the tackles consistently the way. You know what I mean? You got to be able to do that. People say, well, no, you don't. Yeah, you do. You got to be able to run between the tackles. That's the concern.
His listed size and weight, since you asked, is pretty good. 6'1", 229. But here's my thing about Joyner now. And listen, I know he's a tremendous athlete.
That's your weight, Phil.
Thank you. It was before I played golf today. Now I'm 5'11", 175 after playing golf today. No, but here's the thing about, and I know Joyner's a tremendous athlete, okay? But being a great running back is instinctive, and it's also a style. And, I mean, he's used to being a quarterback where he's running away from people and missing tacklers. This was going back to his high school days. Then he's used to being a receiver where he's going down the field, running away from people. Now they're asking him to be a running back where he's got to lower his shoulder and run into people and lower his head and run into people and stick his foot into a crease and then, cut outside. He can do that. He's got that kind of athletic ability. But I just wonder, does he have the natural instincts at running back that a running back who's been a running back since his youth days has built into him? This is not a guy who's grown up being a running back. Now, can you just all of a sudden be converted and have those natural instincts, I mean, maybe you can, and they must feel like he's able to do it.
Yeah, well, he's used to running vertical upright, and that doesn't transition to running between the tackles. But hey, I hope and pray he can do it. But you know that's a concern. And like last night, the left tackle protecting that right-hand quarterback. Those are the two big concerns I have on the offense. Other than that, I feel pretty darn good. Love the show. Y'all have a good evening.
We appreciate your phone call. Yes, sir. Appreciate it very much. 888-898-2525 is our number.
Sticking with this conversation about the running game and the way the ball game has changed in particular, because I'm seeing the devaluation of running backs, especially in the NFL. If you were Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney and you could work out a trade, if you're the Gamecocks, would you trade your wide receivers for Clemson's run game? And vice versa?
Would you trade, if you're South Carolina, would you trade your wide receivers for Clemson's run? Well, I mean, but you got to have, who would be your wide receivers then? You got to have wide receivers.
Well, I guess you get, in that regard, you get Clemson's wide receivers.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, if you're South Carolina, if you're making that trade, would you trade South Carolina's receivers for Clemson's receivers and running backs? And Clemson gets your South Carolina's receivers and running backs? You're trying to make that trade?
Yeah. Would you do that?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I don't think there's that much of a drop-off between the receiving groups. I think Clemson's receivers are very good, and I think that you're going to have guys stepping up and having big years from Clemson's receivers. But South Carolina doesn't have running backs like Clemson does, okay?
No, I agree.
Shipley and Maffa, are going to be a terrific twosome.
But my way of thinking is Gamecock wide receivers are better as a group than Clemson's wide receivers are as a group.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that right now going into the season. Then you throw in the tight end group as well in South Carolina, and the wild card in this thing is Nick Harbor. How good is he going to be?
The overall point is, in the modern day of college football, and certainly in the NFL, is being able to run the football as important as it was, say, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I've always felt you've got to be able to show the run some. But then again, Mississippi State, as we talked about under Mike Leach, especially last season, they won 9 games. I guess, 8 before he passed away? But, I mean, they didn't run the ball at all. And they just relied on their passing game. And, of course, they have a great quarterback in Will Rogers, and they had excellent receivers as well. So, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe the running game has been so diminished in this new era of football, the kind of football they're playing offensively, that it's not a big deal.
I think it's a fair question to ask.
Yeah.
And I disagree. I take the other side of this. And perhaps my opinion is colored by hearing from Mike Elko today, who talks about this. But, Gordon, you just mentioned, look, Mike Leach and Mississippi State, yes, they had success and they were an air raid team. But go back and look at their yards per carry. They always had the threat of the draw play. I really believe running the football is still crucial. And it's what you brought up, Court. It's the threat of the run. South Carolina is going to play Georgia and Tennessee and Florida early, in October this year. They're going to play 3 of the 4 games against those teams. Tell me how many of those games they win if they have less than 100 yards rushing. Can't do it. You just cannot do it. If you're the lesser team and you cannot block and pick up 3rd and 2, when Georgia and Florida and Tennessee know South Carolina is going to run the football on 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, if you can't get it, you can't win. Period. End of story. There's really no argument against it. That's a mic drop. That is the way football is still played. It's a physical game, and it's the threat of the run. If it's 3rd and 3 and you can fake the run and hit a tight end and hit a big play, the fact that you were able to run the ball in the first quarter leads to a big play in the fourth quarter. I still believe, maybe I'm a dinosaur, I still believe running the football is crucial. It's key, especially if you're in the position of, you're not the big dog. You're not the bully on the block. Georgia could probably just start throwing the ball all around the yard if they wanted to. South Carolina, to pull upsets, has to have the threat of the run and the pass.
And I don't know that you're wrong, Smitty, because I was looking back at some of the stats from last year. Tennessee led the country in total offense last season. They were 26th in rushing offense. They still ran for almost 200 yards a game. So that's more than a threat.
What about TCU?
That's a key factor.
Everybody thinks of the air raid under Riley, but they ran the ball extremely well, didn't they, at TCU?
They finished 31st nationally last year, 193 yards a game.
Yeah, so maybe it's not such.
So I think Smitty's right. Yeah, maybe college is still there's enough of a difference because I don't think you can win in the NFL if you rely solely on the ground game.
Yeah.
I'm with Smitty as well, too. The timely running, you have to have that in your arsenal. You have to be able to establish the play action. And if you can't get that rushing game initially in the first quarter, you're not going to be able to set that up. And that's going to hinder your ability to throw the ball and move the ball downfield. And I can't help but wonder, while we're talking about Dakereon Joyner and the Gamecock rushing attack, are we underestimating the value of him being a former kind of quote-unquote running quarterback who part of that job entailed being able to diagnose a defense and read the gaps and be able to see those gaps and hit those holes? He's proven the ability to be a runner from the quarterback position. We referenced that UNC game in the bowl game a few years ago and how he was able to just carve them apart both with his legs and his arm. Are we underestimating his ability to do that this year, maybe simply because we've never seen him do that from the position in the backfield?
Only thing I would say is, just as an observer, is that, running as a quarterback is different than running as a running back. I mean, tall sweep, you've got your head up and you can pick your hole and you can go inside, outside on your tall sweep. But they're also, as the caller pointed out, Keith, they're going to ask him to run in between those tackles, which means running straight ahead, taking the football from the quarterback, lowering your head and running right in there, which is something that he's never done before. Now, maybe he's really good at it, and he will excel at that with the Gamecocks this coming season. It's a big question mark, and I'm just bringing it up because it was a point of conversation today with Beamer, and it has to be an area of concern going into the season if they want to be a dominating offensive team. And I think, as you guys have pointed out, and Pat mentioned it too, you got to be able to run the football when you want to run it. When you've got to go 3rd and 3, 4th and 2, and you want to line up with 2 tight ends and get the first down, you've got to be able to do that to sustain drives, keep your offense on the field, and score points. And, South Carolina, they did that a few years ago under Muschamp when they had Kevin Harris at running back, the last 1,000-yard rusher that they had, because he was such a tough runner inside and he had surprisingly good speed on the outside. They could get those tough yards. Maybe Joyner will do it. Maybe it'll be Anderson. Maybe it'll be McDowell or somebody else. But they've got to solve that riddle going into the season to have the kind of offense that they want to have. Let's go to Ken in Columbia. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Welcome in, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. I just wanted to offer the SEC. I was telling some of my coworkers that I think the Alabama dominance is over. I don't think they'll win another national championship under Nick Saban. You throw in the fact of his age. You throw in with Kirby Smart ruling the roost now. Just Brian Kemp, the best coach in the SEC overall when it comes to this being a just good coach doing more with less. And I just see with the landscape of college football, I just don't think Alabama can win it under Saban anymore. And I think give it a year or two. Like I said, they didn't win the SEC last year, didn't win the SEC West last year, missed the playoffs. Alabama fans are spoiled when they start calling for Saban's head.
Wow, that is a very strong statement that I don't know. You might be standing on an island by yourself around college football and around the Southeast to be that strong on Saban and the end of an era at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, again, you throw in NIL, you throw in the distant Texas coming in with the big money. There are also rumors that you may get Urban Meyer if Jimbo falls on his face at A&M. You get Urban Meyer in the Texas A&M. And Urban's going to find a way to turn it around. You got Hugh Freeze there now. You look at what Kirby's doing. I mean, I just think Alabama for a lot of years. Don't get me wrong, Saban's a great coach, but he also had the most talent, the most players.
Mhm.
That's going to be thinned out throughout college football, but especially in the ACC. And I hate to say it, he doesn't look his age, but he is over 70 years old, and I'm sure that's going to be used against him in recruiting as well.
Well, thank you for your phone call. Time will tell. It's hard to believe. Look, they had a little hiccup by their standards last season. It's hard to believe that Alabama is going to take a major step back anytime soon with the way they continue to recruit. They do have a quarterback who can step in and lead them this year in Tyler Buchholz, who transferred from Notre Dame. And I think, we saw what he could do during the season. And he's a very talented quarterback, which, you go back to that quarterback situation at Notre Dame where they took the transfer from Wake Forest. And you wonder, did they really, in their minds, they must have felt like they upgraded themselves at quarterback or they wouldn't have made that move. But Alabama's got a guy that's been through the wars. I mean, when you're the quarterback at Notre Dame, then whether it's Alabama or Georgia or anywhere else, you've been in the hottest spotlight there is, right? So this guy should be ready to handle whatever comes his way at Alabama, assuming he wins the job. I know that there is some talk of the freshman Ty Simpson, who looked very good in the spring, having a chance to win the job as well. But, I mean, I don't think Saban takes a transfer quarterback without the expectation he's going to be the man.
Especially considering he took his offensive coordinator, too. Tommy Rees at Notre Dame to come down to Alabama.
Yeah.
One of the most remarkable stats that I think exists right now in college football, Saban has had 15 consecutive years in which he won double-digit games.
Amazing.
It's just remarkable, the consistency there. And I get Ken's points. Maybe he's crescendoed a little bit and starting a little bit on the backside, but the backside of his career is better than most teams' upsides.
I wouldn't disagree. I mean, and just look at their lines of scrimmage. That's the other thing, too, about Alabama. Yeah, some of the skill position people come and go, but that offensive and defensive line remains steadfast. And they continue to recruit at an extremely high level, replenishing guys on the offensive and defensive line. And you look at, like they took a tight end transfer, a kid that South Carolina looked at from Maryland, C.J. Dupree. He's 6'5", 257. You got Burton back at wide receiver. Brooks is back at wide receiver. I mentioned, Buckner, the quarterback, in all likelihood. The running back is Chase McClellan as of right now, and he was a fill-in guy some last year, so he's kind of the new guy there. Offensive lineman, looks like they return about 3 of their 5 starters, so they'll be pretty. They'll be pretty strong up front, with J.C. Latham being the top guy there. But the guys that they recruit, like they're listing a starter at left tackle, Caden Proctor, who's a freshman, 6'7", 354. Whew. Yeah. Their right tackle, Latham, who's an all-SEC, All-American candidate, 6'6", 335. Their left guard, Tyler Booker, 6'5", 335. Their right guard, Darian Dalcourt, a starter returning, 6'3", 310, and their center, Seth McLaughlin, one of the better centers in the country. He is 6'4", 301. So they are big up front. They are strong. And you know who their offensive line coach is? Their offensive line coach is the guy who used to be at South Carolina.
Oh, Eric Walford.
Eric Walford, yeah, and went to Kentucky. He's an excellent offensive line coach. So, and I haven't even touched on, what they've got on the defensive front. But, I mean, Dallas Turner's an All-American candidate at one defensive end spot. Tim Smith is outstanding on the other side. Their secondary is outstanding as well. No, they're not going away anytime soon.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he is fine after he appeared unwell at a press conference.
McConnell told reporters that he's fine after he appeared to freeze up during a news conference with other Republican leaders following their weekly party luncheon Wednesday afternoon. After a 30-second pause in the middle of his remarks, the Kentucky Republican was led away from the press conference and towards his office by an aide. The GOP leader reappeared about 10 minutes later to finish the press conference. A McConnell aide said the senator, quote, felt lightheaded and stepped away for a moment. Edwin Mora, Washington.
Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty to 2 tax crimes after a plea deal fell through at the last minute. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a surprise courtroom twist, Hunter Biden's plea deal unraveled after the federal judge raised concerns. During the hearing, there was a dispute over whether the initial agreement gave Biden protection against any future charges. With the judge delaying action on the original plan, the president's son pleaded not guilty to 2 tax crimes. The younger Biden has also been charged with possession of a firearm by a person who is a known drug user, which is a felony. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Federal Reserve raised its key interest rate for the 11th time in 17 months as part of its ongoing drive to curb inflation. But it provided little guidance about when or whether it might hike rates again. Wednesday's move raised the Fed's benchmark short-term rate from roughly 5.1% to 5.3%, its highest level since 2001. Coming on top of its previous hikes, the Fed's latest action could lead to further increases in the costs of mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards. Wall Street reacted with the Dow up by 82 points, the Nasdaq dropping 17. More at townhall.com.
The roof was completely gone. All of our memories being wiped away.
The rain is what got
20 minutes of sheer terror.
And you can feel it in your body.
I watched the fire move down the canyon.
The rumbling of the house.
My son started screaming, we're going to die, we're going to die. In the name of Jesus, we are not going to die.
At Samaritan's Purse, we bring spiritual and physical aid to hurting people around the world. We go into dangerous situations because in disaster, in disease, in war, Jesus calls us to love our neighbor, to heal the sick, feed the hungry, restore the broken. All who work and volunteer with Samaritan's Purse follow the example of Jesus. We go to serve, not to be served. And we go in Jesus' name. Join us at SamaritansPurse.org. That's SamaritansPurse.org.
The Federal Reserve and its raising of interest rates today influenced movement at the stock market. We hear the latest from correspondent Seth Sutel reporting from New York City.
Stocks held steady on Wall Street after the Federal Reserve raised interest rates to their highest level in more than 2 decades, just as Wall Street expected. The S&P 500 slipped less than 0.1% Wednesday, remaining near a 15-month high. The Dow rose 82 points, it's about 0.2%. The Nasdaq Composite slipped 0.1%. The bond market moved more sharply. Treasury yields fell after Fed Chair Jerome Powell said no decision has been made about whether to raise rates at its next meeting or beyond. That may have bolstered hopes among traders that Wednesday's hike could be the last for a long time. Microsoft weighed on the market with a drop of 3.8%. Google's parent company, Alphabet, rose 5.6%. Seth Sutel, New York.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cooling down to 73 overnight. Will stay clear tomorrow. Very hot and very sunny with high temp topping out at 96 and a feels like temp of 103. We'll stay sunny and dry through the work week. By Saturday and Sunday, we'll get about a 30% chance of rain to go with highs near 100 degrees. Stay well hydrated. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Please press button now. I said to, genius.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we're back on Sports Talk Media Network. Fast first hour. Appreciate the phone calls. Great phone calls. Very interesting stuff. Good conversation. We're going to hear from Shane Beamer coming up here in just a little bit from his meeting with the media. As talking season continues, it was less than a week ago that we had full Gamecock coverage from Nashville. And he'll meet again with the media coming up a week from tomorrow. I know you like all this, Chris. You're really big on preseason media sessions where we repeat stuff. So anyway, he'll meet again with the media a week from tomorrow, and then the Gamecocks will go on the practice field on that Friday, and then they'll get after it, and we'll have coverage of their practice and other practices around the state. We'll have our trip around the state of South Carolina, our Palmetto Pigskin Tour for you as we go to every school around South Carolina playing college football. Always the highlight of the preseason, if you ask me. Really enjoy doing that. A few other things to get to, and then we'll jump into some stuff from the ACC today because we had some coaches there who have their eyes trained on Clemson and want to prove that they will be the team to beat this coming year. Clemson will be the team to beat. I think everybody believes that, but these schools believe that they can have something to say about that when they play the Tigers. Looking at some stories here, Bobby Bentley is staying in the state of Florida to continue his coaching career. The former USC assistant, but better known, I think, as the head coach at Burns. Of course, he was the head coach at Presbyterian. He announced, or was announced today, as an analyst for Gus Malzahn at Central Florida. Bentley was an offensive analyst at Auburn under Malzahn for 2 seasons. He spent the last 2 seasons as receivers coach and passing game coordinator, working for Jeff Scott at South Florida. And, of course, he was let go after the 22 season after Scott was fired. So good for Bobby Bentley to get a chance to work on the offensive side of things with UCF. And we're getting reports here this evening now, that Colorado, that deal is a done deal, that it's being reported by one of the national guys, Brett McMurphy. That Colorado is going to go back to the Big 12 now. Is that what we're getting?
Colorado leaving the Pac-12 to return to the Big 12 in 2024. Sources telling Brett McMurphy and the Action Network, Colorado will receive a full Big 12 share of basically $32 million from ESPN and Fox. Now, this is the funny part. They left because of the Big 12 stability. Remember, this was the league that was going to vanish just a couple of years ago, and now the Pac-12's uncertainty. But I wonder, as I mentioned to you guys all fair, after Pat brought this to open up the show, I wonder how much of this deal with Colorado being attractive now back to the Big 12 has to do with their brand new head football coach. If Deion's not there, is Colorado nearly as attractive to the Big 12 as they are?
Well, I think Deion is the only attraction with Colorado football.
I would think
right
so.
now, you know. Well, you can maybe throw his son at quarterback in there, Shedeur Sanders, because he's got some talent. He's got a big arm. But yeah, I think right now Deion is Colorado football. To steal a line from Cliff Ellis talking about Clemson basketball many years ago, I think he is the only attraction right now for Colorado football. But that may change in time if they get it going and they start winning some games. All right, let's get to the ACC stuff today for a little bit. Smitty, you were on hand as the coaches came through. Clemson will be in tomorrow, so we'll be tied up a lot with the Tigers tomorrow. But today it was a couple of their major opponents you got a chance to listen to.
Absolutely. And Mike Elko was up early in the day. That's the head coach for the Duke Blue Devils. And what a season they had. Elko led the Devils to 9 wins. And it was just fascinating in the manner in which he did it. He actually took 3 of those 4 losses at 9-4. 3 of those 4 were by a field goal or less. So if you tuned in to Duke football last season, they were either winning the game or had the ball with a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. Every time. That's amazing. What a turnaround. Now, how did he do it? According to Coach Elko, he did it with really, it was a 2-pronged effort. They improved the turnover margin, and then they were able to run the football offensively and stop the run on the defensive end. Now, it's a different ball game. A lot of those 9 wins, admittedly, were against teams that were not of top-flight caliber. But still, it's a step up for Duke. So now where are they? National stage, Labor Day weekend. They open Wallace Wade Stadium against the Clemson Tigers. And Phil, you've hit on it a couple of times this week. The Tigers still the team to beat. That is still Dabo Swinney. Those are still 5-star recruits at Clemson. Those guys are tremendous athletes. Can Duke do what they did last season against the caliber of team that is Clemson? Mike Elko talks about that, the turnaround in Duke, and more from ACC Kickoff from earlier today.
We had a lot of success last year. We had a lot of positive results. But when you really look at the details, there's still a lot of areas we can get better. There really are. And first time as a head coach, first time in a system, first time building our program, there's a lot of things that we feel like we can get better at and we can do better. And so that was the emphasis. Everything this offseason has just been about elevation. And we didn't come in to have one good season. We didn't come in to have one positive moment and then kind of let it all go away. We wanted to build a program. And that goes over time. And we know for us to be the program we want and to get the respect that we really want, this is something that has to happen year in and year out. And we've got to be successful year in and year out. And I don't think we're there yet. And so we had a big offseason. I think we worked really hard this offseason. We're really excited for fall camp and look forward to go out in there this fall and showing that, hopefully we're a program that can sustain this level of success.
What were the key on the field components last season that led to the reversal? Was it the turnaround and turnover margin or the exponential defensive improvement that were key in your mind?
Yeah, I think on the field, I would point to probably 2. I think one was turnover margin. I think we had gone from one of the worst turnover teams in the country to the second best turnover margin in the nation. And we did a really good job of forcing them, and we did a really good job of protecting the football. And so when you look at how do you flip wins and losses, that's obviously the biggest indicator of success, is how you do in the turnover margin. And so that, I think, strategically was one of the really big things that played in our favor. And I think we got stronger. And so the way that we were able to run the football and the way that we were able to stop the run, I think allowed us to control game flow significantly better. And I think those 2 things played hand in hand because we weren't chasing games. We weren't getting behind early. We weren't having to force the issue, which I think allowed us to protect the football a lot more, maybe forced other teams to try to throw the football or expose the football a little bit more. I think all of those things kind of played hand in hand in last year.
Coach, Duke has forever been a blue blood basketball program. The football program was kind of an afterthought. But after last year, that is no more. You guys showed that the football program is here and here to stay. Can you expound on that, please?
Yeah, I think first of all, we relish our success on basketball. I think one of the reasons why Duke was exciting to me is because of the brand recognition. And we're very thankful for everything that basketball has done and everything that basketball has been about. And everything we've talked about has just been there's room for both programs to be successful. There's an entire fall that we're not doing anything with basketball, and there's no reason why we can't invest resources into our football program and be successful there too. And I think that's something that our athletic department has made a huge commitment to. Obviously, I think the extension that just got announced plays into that, and we want to be great. That's what Duke has been about. It's been about this elite level of excellence in every area that it goes after. I think now, hopefully, that's going to translate consistently to the football program as well.
Hey, Coach, David Hood with TigerNet.com. Building off of last season, you get a chance to show off your facilities, your stadium, your team on Labor Day night. You're the only game on TV, ESPN. Clemson's coming to town. What kind of opportunity, win or lose, is that for you and your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think being on that national stage is what we want Duke football to be, and obviously Clemson has been the gold standard in this conference. We've not shied away from that this entire offseason. That they have done so many things to kind of carry the ACC and be our representative for so long. But, if we want to get our seat at the table and we want to get talked about in that light, those are the games that we're going to have to play. And so to be able to play that game in Durham in front of a packed house on Monday night with everybody watching, that's what you want. I think that's what our players want. That's what our kids want. And that's what our program wants. And it's not to say that we don't have a ton of respect for who they are and what they do. But, that's an opportunity that we're really looking.
All right, Mike Elko, the Duke football coach, and obviously looking forward, Smitty, to having Clemson in town. Chris and I were talking about this the other night. Or maybe it was you too. I guess it was the three of us talking about how many Clemson fans would be there versus the Duke fans. And, I mean, I think this will be one of the biggest football games for Duke at home well, let me think for a second. No, it would be since the Spurrier years. They had some good years. Of course, with Cutcliffe, they had some good years. But they are really enthusiastic, energized about this football team under Mike Elko after what they did last year and getting Clemson at home on Labor Day night. This is a slot that a Duke wouldn't ordinarily appear in. The Monday night, Labor Day night national television broadcast. But here's Duke coming off a 9-win season with 18 starters returning, 10 on offense and 8 on defense. People believe that they're going to be a factor in the ACC race, or they wouldn't be putting them on national television to open up the season.
Oh, you're right about everything, Corn. It's about the stage, and you heard David Hood ask that question. Duke is now put front and center, and they're going to have Clemson's full attention, right? Because Dabo Sweeney is talking to his players. He's showing them film from last season. This is not a sandwich spot. This is not a surprise spot. Duke will not sneak up on Clemson. These are two clubs that had great seasons in 2022 going toe-to-toe national television. I don't think Duke necessarily can hold up to Clemson. But as Mike Elko alluded to, it's a great opportunity to showcase their team. And you know what it is? It's a barometer. Where are we? Where are we when they know we're coming? When Clemson knows that you're coming and we're both bringing our best shots and everybody's healthy and both teams' quarterbacks are healthy and we've had a long time to game plan, where do we rate against the Clemsons of the world? Duke finds out September 4th.
All right.
And let's be realistic about this. It's because Clemson is playing Duke. This is not about Duke. Remember last year on Labor Day night, Clemson Georgia Tech played. It had nothing to do with Georgia Tech. It had everything to do with Clemson. It has nothing to do with Duke. They get a chance to showcase their best program, and that's why it's important. Duke, please. Georgia Tech last year. I remember that game was on Labor Day, too.
We're going to hit the break and come back with recruiting in just a moment here on Sports Talk. Don't go away.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as sports drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Morgan. I want to tell you about an exciting new product from my friends at Vision Air Solutions. Staying healthy in my line of work is so critical, and probably in yours as well. A large factor in all that is making sure we're breathing in healthy and safe air every day. That's where Vision Air Solutions comes in. They make sure your home has air purification for all the air pollution you can't see. Viruses, mold, bacteria, stale odors, cooking smells, and volatile organic compounds. They make sure your home is full of clean air and also offer HVAC duct cleaning and sanitation as well. Make sure you and your family are breathing clean air today by giving Vision Air Solutions a call today. 803-220-1811. That's 803-220-1811. Tell them Mike sent you.
We've got rates worth bragging about. For a limited time, Founders Federal Credit Union is offering our 12-month certificate at 5.04% annual percentage yield, or APY. And our 12-month IRA certificate is at 5.3% APY. Don't miss this opportunity. A $500 deposit is all it takes to make these great rates work for you. Rates accurate as of June 1st, 2023. Stop by any Founders location to open your IRA or certificate today. Or use Founders Online to open a certificate from wherever you are. To learn more, visit foundersfcu.com/dividend-rates. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Membership qualification required. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, I'm Jim Corbett. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years. There's one thing I've learned about injury cases. It's you need the personal touch. You need the lawyer to get to know you and describe your damages. You don't want a case manager talking to an insurance company and then talking to you and then talking to maybe to a lawyer with limited experience at the last minute to try to settle a case. I talk to you. I find out what your case is about. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com. Jim at JimCorbettAttorney.com for your injury cases.
George Bryant for Tsunami Bar Sports, our inventor, David Abernathy, has always said Tsunami Bar technology allows us to take the training to the grass. Now I know through my sport of golf that natural agility can be converted to athletic ability. And why is this, Tsunami Robbie?
Transferring the training to the grass. This may be the most undervalued characteristic of the Tsunami flexible bar technology. The Tsunami bar action loads and unloads at the concentric and eccentric transition points. This is what we call reversal forces. And the Tsunami bar is the only bar and training device that I know of that can train these reversal forces adequately at speed.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
Recruiting time here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. They are closed tomorrow for a private event, so no lunch and buffet tomorrow. But Friday, oh yeah, you know what Friday is? Friday is another round of the Roast Beef Friday celebration at Seawells. And you will not find a better lunch and buffet anywhere in South Carolina. And for $13, you can't beat it as they continue to do what they can to fight inflation over at Seawells. And, of course, for the very best in the catering business, just give the folks at Seawells a call and let them handle all your planning and all the execution of your special event, be it a wedding reception or a birthday party, a corporate outing, an awards banquet, whatever the case may be. 803-771-7385 is the number for Seawells. So tonight, recruiting-wise, we want to update what's happening with one of South Carolina's remaining major targets. He's been one of their major targets all year long, and now the spotlight is really shining on defensive end Dylan Stewart of Washington. He is coming in Friday for the cookout at USC, according to his coach, Mike Hunter. Whether or not this visit will lead to a resolution of Stewart's recruiting remains to be seen. Coach Hunter said that he's honestly wavering back and forth between an announcement date. He said one time he mentioned August, and it was September, then back to August. And now he may wait until the end. So the coach just isn't sure yet because it's such a tough decision for him. He said he knows he's under a lot of pressure, so he wants to make the right decision. And he has visited the Gamecocks multiple times, including an official visit in June. So the question was asked, is it possible the Gamecocks could close the deal this weekend? Something that Shane Beamer would certainly like to get done. Coach Hunter's response was, your guess is as good as mine. I've tried to get a date just for planning purposes. He said he doesn't want to put any pressure on him. He just wants to make sure they have everything in place and invite the right people to his announcement day. He's kind of been going back and forth with it. He's really struggling with this decision in a good way, the coach said. It's not a bad thing. It's a tough decision for him. It's USC, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, and Maryland as the finalists. He has taken officials to each one except Maryland, but he's been there on his own several times. And Coach Hunter said all 5 remain in the hunt. They've all done a good job recruiting him. He said hats off to all the coaches and staffs who have been recruiting him. They've made it pretty tough for him to eliminate schools at this point. But as he's told him, it's a business. You got to tell somebody no. As far as USC's concerned, Coach Hunter said Stewart's had a great relationship with the coaches, great relationship with the players on the team. He says they've built a bond with some of the guys they're recruiting as well, not only from his area, but from around the nation. So he said South Carolina's done a tremendous job of recruiting him, and they put themselves in great position, is how the coach put it. But he Hunter adds that he could pretty much say that about any of the other schools. He said he thinks all the schools have a legitimate shot right now, just from his conversations, from talking with the coaches at those schools. And he said that Stewart hasn't led anyone to believe like, oh, I'm going to pick you guys when I make my decision. It's a tough decision for him. He said the schools have made it really tough. He said he doesn't think there's a wrong decision as long as he's focused on doing what he's supposed to do. The South Carolina visit is the only one Hunter has on the docket for this week, but his coach said more will come if he doesn't shut down his recruiting before the start of the season. Obviously, he said if he makes his decision sometime in August or early September, then he'll just go to that place. But otherwise, he might take other visits, including an official visit to Maryland this fall if he doesn't go ahead and make a decision prior to that. Offensive tackle Elijah Thurman of Hinesville, Georgia, visited Georgia Tech on Thursday. He plans to visit LSU unofficially this weekend. USC and Clemson have offered, and they have invited him to visit this Friday for their events, but obviously he's not going to make it because he's going to LSU. But he will visit each school this fall. 2025 offensive tackle Garrett Gordon of Ocala, Florida, plans to visit USC Friday for their cookout. And Clemson target, 2025 defensive end Isaiah Campbell, visited Alabama already this week. Now to basketball. The state's top prospect in the 24 class, 6'4" Cam Scott of Lexington, announced on X today, his X page, he will make his commitment announcement on August 11th. He listed his final schools as USC, Alabama, Auburn, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Texas. USC target 6'7" Trent Noah was offered by UCF, and he has set his official visit to USC for the weekend of September 23rd. Baseball, right-hander, first baseman Ryder Gano, 6'5", 180, of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, committed to USC for the 2024 class. And right-hander, wait for this name, guys, right-hander Maximus McClellan, 6'7", 210. Maximus McClellan. Love the name. Hope he does not go by Max. I hope he goes by Maximus.
Indeed. He's got to.
I mean, a guy that big who probably throws hard, you've got to be called Maximus. Anyway, he's from Avon Lake, Ohio, and he also has committed to USC for the 2024 class. Okay, after the break, we'll give you the transfer portal, John, update. We got some news there. Clemson actually has taken a grad transfer. Did you know that? And, Chris, you'll know this guy. You'll be familiar with this guy. So stay tuned for that. And Shane Beamer is coming up. And we're going to hear from Mike Norvell from Florida State, too. We got a lot to do in the next half hour. We'll be back in a moment.
On On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cooling down to 73 overnight. Will stay clear tomorrow. Very hot and very sunny with high temp topping out at 96 and a feels like temp of 103. We'll stay sunny and dry through the work week. By Saturday and Sunday, we'll get about a 30% chance of rain to go with highs near 100 degrees. Stay well hydrated. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midlands Landscape and Lawns. Is it time for a new lawn? You need to start with a smooth grade done right. Then a must is a new Rainbird irrigation system that comes complete with a 1-year warranty. We will then help you know what turf is right for your yard. Tip-Top Bermuda is a great turf for full sun. Then let the pros maintain your whole property and keep your new grass green and healthy and weed-free. At Midlands Landscape and Lawns, we hate weeds. So that's why you can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell returned to face reporters after going blank during a press conference at the Capitol. McConnell was speaking when he trailed off while discussing the National Defense Authorization Act. Aides led him back to his office. He returned 10 minutes later and finished the press conference saying he was fine. The plea deal in Hunter Biden's criminal case unraveled during a court hearing Wednesday after a federal judge raised concerns about the terms of the agreement that has infuriated Republicans who believe the president's son is getting preferential treatment. Hunter Biden was charged last month with 2 misdemeanor crimes of failure to pay more than $100,000 in taxes from over $1.5 million in income in both 2017 and 2018. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 82 points, the Nasdaq dropped 17. More details at srnnews.com.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's your head coach of Clemson Gymnastics, Amy Smith, here to tell you that season tickets for our first ever season are on sale now, starting at just $25. Make sure to visit ClemsonTigers.com to secure your seat in Little John Coliseum. We cannot wait to compete this coming January, and believe me, you won't want to miss this. Visit ClemsonTigers.com today and go Tigers.
Hey, Kev here. One thing that's truly unique about The Point is you. We call our listeners the Point family. You've stayed so loyal. You've stayed so supportive. Thank you for that. We call The Point Columbia's local talk radio experience. We're community driven. We push hard for our advertising partners because they're mom and pop businesses, small business owners. People ask me all the time, how can we help you with The Point, Kev? Well, it's pretty simple. Support those who support us. If you hear an advertising partner here on The Point, use them. Support them. Brag to them that you're there because you trust The Point. If you're a local small business owner, I'd love to have you as part of our lineup. Give me a call. Tell me your story. I'll create a customized advertising package that fits your budget and your needs. Nothing corporate, nothing cookie cutter. Look, if you haven't tried radio, it does work, especially here at The Point. Give us an opportunity to share you with our Point family. Call me. 563-8558. That's 563-8558. Or email me directly, kev@makethepointradio.com. I sure hope we could partner up. Join the Point family.
If you're suffering and there's a safe, natural, easy-to-use solution to help make you feel better, wouldn't you at least want to try it? That's why millions of people use Navage nasal care to help relieve their symptoms of sinus congestion, allergies, snoring, and other nasal-related problems. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping flush out everything that makes you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. People like Dee, a verified Navage user who writes, "From years of having a permanently stuffed up nose to being able to breathe is life-changing. Food tastes better, and I no longer go through boxes of tissue a day," unquote. Navage is the safe, drug-free solution you've been looking for. Available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
I'm sure you've seen all the construction around Malfunction Junction. Maybe you've wondered what a career as a heavy equipment operator looks like, but you have no idea how to get started. Let Midlands Technical College help put you in the seat of a great career operating a backhoe, dozer, excavator, or motor grader. Classes start every 5 weeks, and in a little over a month, you can be behind the controls of the equipment, making a great salary. Just check us out at midlandstech.edu. That's midlandstech.edu.
right, Shane Beamer in just a moment. Want to wrap up the recruiting with the Transfer Portal John report for tonight. That, of course, is brought to you by Dumpster Plus. Dumpster Plus provides a roll-off dumpster and Porta-John in one. You got to see it. 803-500-5094 is their number. Go to our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Click on their digital ad on the right-hand side. Take you to their website, and you can see it and read all about it. So Clemson has added grad transfer safety Austin Randall, 6'1", from Coastal Carolina, to the roster.
Interesting.
He is the brother of Tigers receiver Adam Randall. He played in 14 games over 2 seasons and recorded 10 tackles. I think he played mostly special teams.
Yeah.
There at Coastal Carolina. The top 10 ACC transfers as ranked by 24/7 Sports. Number 10 is linebacker Francisco Maguewa at Miami from Washington State. Number 9 is offensive tackle Jeremiah Byers to Florida State from UTEP. Number 8 is Ali Jennings, wide receiver, Virginia Tech from ODU and West Virginia. Number 7, Matt Lee, inside offensive lineman to Miami from UCF. Number 6, Braden Fisk, defensive lineman, Florida State from Western Michigan. Number 5, Keon Coleman, wide receiver, Florida State from Michigan State. Add him to the arsenal at Florida State and look out. Number 4, Jaheim Bell, tight end, Florida State from USC. Number 3, Javion Cohen, inside offensive lineman, Miami from Alabama, though he originally committed to South Carolina out of high school. Number 2, Devontae Walker, wide receiver, North Carolina from NC Central and Kent State. Number 1, Fentrell Cypress, cornerback, Florida State from Virginia. So Florida State counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 10 rated transfers into the ACC. And if they benefit big time from this, I mean, really, if this turns them around and you're Dabo Swinney and Clemson, you got to be like, wait a minute, you know? Especially if Florida State beats you and you lose to on a touchdown catch by a Jaheim Bell or a Keon Coleman or a pass interception by a Fentrell Cypress, you know. Anyway, there you go with the Transfer Portal John report tonight here on Sports Talk. All right, today it was Shane Beamer talking more about his team looking ahead to the start of practice a week from Friday. Here is some of what he had to say following today's always exciting media golf outing at Cobblestone Park.
Tomorrow is our last official summer workout of the summer. So we'll finish up tomorrow morning as a team, giving our players a long weekend off because it's really their first long break until the off weekend and whenever that is, end of September, beginning of October. So we'll work out tomorrow morning and then have players will have off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and pretty much all day Monday. Come back Monday night for a meeting, workout, light workouts on Tuesday and Wednesday, report Thursday, and practice Friday. So it's here for us. Got a big recruiting weekend coming up as well, on our big recruiting day on Friday coming up as well, that we're going to have a lot of great prospects here for that. So that'll be a fun way to finish the week. And like I said, eager to start next Friday with practice. And great excitement about the opener, as you all know. Awesome announcement this week about College Game Day coming to Charlotte for the first game. So it'll be an electric environment up in Charlotte here really, really soon. We got a lot of work to do as we get ready for a really talented North Carolina team, but can't wait to get started and get going on year 3 as well. So with that, any questions you guys have before I let you visit with the rest of these guys?
Shane, because it'll probably be a topic all year, with the running back situation, is it, feasible to have running back committee through a 12-game football schedule where this guy gets 10 carries, this guy gets 12, this guy gets 8?
Yeah, I think so. I've seen, you guys have heard me say it before, just other places that I've been where we've used more than one. And I've used the example when I was at Georgia in 2017 and we had Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, and Elijah Holyfield, all 4 of those guys or in the NFL. So certainly that's a position that takes a pounding as the year goes. You need more than one. I think each game is different. Sometimes you get into a game and one particular running back just gets hot and you just kind of ride that guy and keep going. And then we've certainly got to be creative, Coach Loggins and the offensive staff, as far as how we being creative, and there's also ways to generate runs without necessarily handing it to a running back. I mean, you saw us do that last year with some of the jet sweep stuff that we've done with receivers or running the quarterback or whatever it might be. We'll be fine there, but we also understand our depth is not necessarily where we want it to be. But we've got to do a great job of developing the ones that we have and being creative with what we do in the run game.
Shane, as you get ready to start your third season, what statement does that make? What does it mean to you to have your program selected to be ESPN Game Day to open up the year?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great statement about where we've come. I was just telling somebody earlier today, I mean, 2 years ago at this time, it was about the same time a national media member made the statement that the ceiling for the 2021 team was 2 wins. And to go from that, where we were picked, whatever we were, 6th or 7th in the SEC East my first season, to now you have College Game Day coming, 2 really good teams, the season opener. It makes a great statement about the progress we've made and some of the things that we've accomplished. So we're certainly proud of that, but we also know that we're nowhere near being where we're going to go. And there's a lot more that we can do in this program and are going to continue to do as we, build this program and move it forward. But proud of the strides we've made in 2 seasons, but I think we're all aware that there's a lot that we can be better at as well.
Shane, the challenge of your opening opponent keeps kind of gradually going up here. What's it like facing Drake May, do you think? And just your players on defense obviously know who he is. Does that change, their attention span any in practice? Do you think it will or not?
Yeah, I think so. I was, talking to another SEC coach about that same thing earlier this week. Just he's a coach, and his program's opened up with some pretty high profile openers, and certainly it makes a difference. I can remember when my dad was coaching at Virginia Tech. He had years where they opened up with Southern Cal and Reggie Bush and Boise State, or a conference opener against Georgia Tech or whatever it might be. So I think anytime you're opening up with a really talented opponent like North Carolina is, a really talented quarterback that many people say is going to be the number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft next spring, it certainly heightens the urgency as well. Our players are aware. We need to worry about ourselves, and we will, but certainly we love competition. We talk about competition in this program as a core value, and what better way to start the season than getting a chance to go out on national television and compete against a team that's really, really talented, led by a fantastic, quarterback. And our guys are excited, and, we'll really dive into North Carolina as we get closer to it for sure. But absolutely, when you start preseason camp, I would imagine it would, as you go through the dog days of preseason practice and you get in the middle of August and game 1 seems like so far away, it'll probably be a little bit more of an urgency this year, maybe in years past, because of who we're playing week 1.
Shane, what have you noticed with Spencer Rattler in terms of just the difference this year in comparison to last year when he first arrived in South Carolina?
Yeah, I think Spencer's grown in so many ways as a person, player, leader, and even just since January when Dow came in and the relationship that they've built and how he's helped him in a short period of time. Finishing the way that he finished, talking about Spencer last season on the field, gave him great confidence. Not that he didn't have it already, but really gave him even more confidence going into 2023. He made a decision that was best for he and his family to return, and he's been awesome since he came back in January. Not only trying to improve as a quarterback, but to be an even better leader than what he was last season. And he was a great leader last year. He was voted a captain by his teammates. So he knows he's got a lot to work on and will continue to. But glad he's our quarterback and eager to see him take the next step as he continues to grow and just gaining confidence and then just being comfortable as well. Last year at this time he had never played a game in Williams-Brice Stadium, and I think he obviously has a better understanding of what all that's about right now too. Haven't been through a season in the SEC because it's certainly no disrespect to the Big 12, but it's different than the Big 12.
Shane, obviously there's some new faces and everything from year 1 to year 3, but when you look at when you took over the program to now, walking into your 3rd preseason camp, I mean, what do you feel like is different about this program where you guys are and maybe you are as a coach at this time?
For me, it's probably just every day is an adventure, Ben, and every day something comes up that you don't expect, but I have a better understanding of what's coming and what's next and things like that than I did the first year I did it. You just learn and grow with experience, without a doubt. And I think overall, just as a program, I think it's really just our players understanding what we expect and how we want to do things and what we're going to be about as a program, just the way that we work and the way that we practice and knock on wood, we don't have as many just off the field issues, being on time to class, being on time to study hall, stuff like that. We're in a much better position where, and a lot of that's because of the leadership on our team. But, as you go through each year, everybody comes in the program and new guys come in. We got 38 new players this year, but they come in and they learn from the guys that have been here for 2 years about how we want to do things and how we do things.
Kind of going off of that, going into year 3, now having, 2 full recruiting classes that are all your guys and 2 transfer classes that are all your guys, did that change anything about how you kind of approach the start of the season with more of, your people in the room compared to holdovers from, the previous administration?
Yeah. Haven't thought about that, to be honest with you. Not really. I don't think so. 2021, the majority, none of those guys other than the transfers that came in, I didn't recruit because the signing class was already committed, but they were our guys in 2021. I think the only thing that's different now is the guys that we've now recruited into the program. You know them better, and I know their families. And 2021, the guys that were here, I knew them, but because of COVID, I really didn't have a chance to meet their families and things like that. That's different, but we felt like they were our guys in 2021, and they're certainly, our guys now, and there's other guys still in the program that were recruited by the previous staff, but we're all one right now, and that doesn't really change anything as far as how we do things.
With Dowell and kind of installing the new offense through the summer, through workouts going into camp, how do you kind of gauge success for that when you don't obviously have an opponent? And maybe how is this install going compared to other offensive installs you've been involved with in your career?
I think good. I think our guys have a great understanding of what we're doing. As you guys have heard me say before, there's carryover from what we did last year, but then there's also new things that we're doing this year that our guys have had to learn. And I think it's been really good. I think Dow and the staff do a great job of not overcomplicating things and just trying to, do a lot, but still keep it simple. And the fact that, the NCAA, you guys have heard me say this, allows us to do more with our players than in years past is really beneficial also because what our players are hearing right now, there's new stuff that we've tweaked and added this summer, but they heard it in January, they heard it in February, they heard it in March and April with spring practice. They went home in May, they came back in June, and we get time with them on the field and in the meeting room. Same thing in July. Then we'll redo it all and reinstall it in August as well. So I like where we are as far as judging success. Obviously we're judged by wins and losses, and we won't know until up in Charlotte in the first weekend in September. But I think for us it's more just our guys making a lot of mistakes in practice, mental errors, and are we operating efficiently in practice? You'll be able to see that and kind of judge where we are and maybe where we need to pull back, add, whatever it might be.
Shane, talk about what it means to you to play North Carolina. That's a state you recruit against, a border state, and the interest with the fans having the bragging rights on who the real Carolina is and all. But what's that mean to your program?
Yeah, I played golf this summer with some Tar Heel grads, and I heard about that for 18 holes. Just the real Carolina, little Carolina, big Carolina, all that stuff. No, it's exciting. I think rivalries are what makes college athletics great. To be able to do it in a neutral site, right in between both schools where there's tons of alumni in both schools. It's a natural rival in a ideal location. It's perfect in so many ways, just like the bowl game was 2 years ago. That was a great location for a bowl game because of the 2 teams that were involved in it. So it's an awesome way to start. Obviously, a lot of people feel that way. That's why ESPN and College Game Day are going to be there, but we also know what a big challenge it is. But certainly, and I think we have them on future schedules as well coming up, down the road, if I'm not mistaken. I read that in our media guide this year, so thank you for that, Steve. Great work on the future schedules. But no, I think it's a natural rival that we got a ton of respect for, and you're right, it is a state that we have had great success recruiting. We were talking about this yesterday as a coaching staff. You just look, Travian Robertson came from North Carolina, Melvin Ingram, Chris Culliver, on and on and on, just guys that were here when I was here, and I can name a bunch. So that will always be a state that's impactful for us in recruiting, and it has to be, being a border state.
Sure, you're aware that the U.S. Senate is taking up a bill about NIL legislation with some teeth to it and some guidelines and some laws. And Tommy Tuberville is one of those senators. If you were a U.S. senator and could write a law, having experience working in the NIL atmosphere, what would you write into a law?
Wow, put me on the spot, Phil. That's a tough, and I'm going to get in trouble probably for what I say or don't say. That's a good question. I think there's a lot of things with NIL that can be better. And again, I'm in favor of it and want to help our players in any way and support name, image, and likeness. And I've told our players, and I mean it, I want to help them in any way that I can. And I'll do everything that I can to help them be able to capitalize on it if they've earned it. I think for me, it would start with what we as coaches are all looking for. Name, image, and likeness was implemented for student athletes to truly be able to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. What it's turned into is buying players and pay for play and recruiting. And that's not what it was intended to be. So I would love to write a bill or have a law that, gets that a little bit under control, from that standpoint. And then certainly some protections for student athletes and things like that as well. So I think Commissioner Sankey, he's been very outspoken about what we're looking for as far as college athletics go. And from just a pure coaching staff, our coaching standpoint, that's what I would like to see, just where it's less recruiting inducement. Certainly you sell what your players are doing in from a name, image, and likeness standpoint, which we do. We got some guys that have been able to capitalize on theirs, and they're doing awesome things. But not necessarily that's the reason they come to your school because of something on the front end. And then I'd love to see a little bit more transparency, because that's one of my frustrations is there's just a lot of rumor out there about what certain guys are getting paid at different schools and things like that. And if there was just a little bit more transparency where everybody knew what everybody was getting, great. It would clean up a lot of the stuff of what guys are hearing that's not always the case.
Okay, Shane Beamer from his press conference today. All of it's on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Let's stay. I was going to go to Mike Norvell, but we're gonna make a change in plans here. Doing a little football lingo here. We're gonna throw an audible at you, Chris, and listen to some Coastal Carolina from down in New Orleans today.
Yeah, first time their new head coach had a chance to step in front of the media microphones down in New Orleans. I'm still wondering why Sports Talk wasn't there. We should have gone. We missed an opportunity for good food and good football. But nonetheless, we did get to listen in on Tim Beck. He also had Grayson McCall as starting quarterback, and JT Killen, one of his starting linebackers, with him. And here's a little bit of what Tim Beck had to say about the last 7 months and how quickly football season has arrived for him.
It's been a whirlwind from when I got hired about 7 months ago to where we're at today. And there's a lot of questions that I know you're probably going to ask me. And I have a lot of questions, too, about our football team. So I may not always have the exact answer you want to hear, but I'll give it my best shot. Obviously, one thing I do want to address, because I'm going to open it up to questions and make sure I'm getting to you guys what you need from me. I'm short and sweet when it comes to this, but we got two exceptional student athletes here, Grayson McCall, JT Killen. You guys know a lot about those two. I do want to start off, as I've listened a lot to coaches talk about these opening statements. I heard them all talk about their quarterback and the quarterback situation. So I want to address this point right now. We will not have a quarterback battle. We do have a young man, you probably heard of him, Grayson McCall. He's done pretty good. I think he will be the starting quarterback at Coastal Carolina. So if you want to put that in print, you don't have to ask me that question. And a lot of people are probably wondering about that. So, but we can move on. I'm open for questions about our program, and it'll just kind of dive right into where we're at and make sure that you get the answers that you need about our program.
Since you've pretty much settled on who's going to be your starting quarterback, what does it mean to have a guy with Grayson's experience running the offense?
So, first of all, it's quite an honor every day to come to work and to be around not only Grayson, but really a lot of our players. And, the biggest thing that I learned here at Coastal Carolina since I've had the job is how much these guys love playing football. Somewhere along the way, the game's changed a little bit. There's some really talented guys playing the game for the wrong reasons, but not at our place. Like, it's amazing to walk in. They love playing football now. I mean, love it. And not only that, they do it for the right reasons. They play for each other, and that's a lost art. And it starts with leadership, and it starts with Grayson. Here's a guy I watch from afar. I'm offense coordinator at North Carolina State. You guys probably all know the story. My daughter went to school at Coastal Carolina, played volleyball, knew these guys. I used to watch the games when I had opportunities, and I watched him play, and I admired him from afar, how tough he was, how hard he competed, how he played, how he led, and then have the opportunity to be around him and see that, he's a winner. Plays are plays. Everybody's got their own system. They call it different. Everybody runs inside zone or outside zone or counter or power, whatever it is, but they call it different things. They get to them different ways. And so for us and for me, what's allowed me to be successful over the years, I have a system. We have a system in place. But what we do at the end, what can our guys do? Right? What are we good at doing? What do they know how to do? How do we execute? The game's simple, right? It's blocking, it's tackling, it's throwing, it's catching. It doesn't matter what you do to some degree. We got to do it harder, faster, better than the other team. We got to protect the football. When we have opportunities, we got to get the ball in space to our playmakers. That's it. I've been around great quarterbacks. Ohio State, Texas, NC State, Nebraska. And I told them all the same thing. You can't win without a supporting cast. He can only do so much. His number one job at quarterback, distribute the ball on time to the person it should be. That's it. That's what I would tell every single quarterback that played for me. Grayson's no different. He's got to have supporting casts around him on both sides of the ball to be able to have the success that he has, regardless of what play that we called. So we're going to find what our guys can do good, really good, and we're going to emphasize that and focus on that. What is that? We're still going through that process. I coach it. I didn't invent it, like the game. So there's always things we're learning too, to put our guys in the best position to compete for championships.
Got a Zoom question for both Grayson and JT. How has the coaching transition been, and what do you like most about Coach Beck?
Yeah, transition's been pretty smooth. Obviously, it was kind of rough when the old staff left and the new staff came in. A lot of us, it was the first time we've gone through something like this. But my message to the team was just to be optimistic and welcome Coach with open arms. If you look at Coach Beck and where he's been, the type of teams he's had, the players that he's developed, he can get it done. And then he brings in a phenomenal staff on top of that. And it's been great. The guys are ready to go, ready to play for Coach Beck. He's a player's coach, and he's done a great job so far. So we're really
Yeah, I would say, it was tough losing somebody like Coach Chabot. He was great, did a lot of great things for this program. And, when Coach Beck came in, everyone, like Grayson said, everyone was like, man, what's going on? What's going to happen? Are things going to change? And like he said, everyone was just optimistic about it and, gave everyone a chance. And, here we are. And it's been unreal. And I love our coaches. I think it's going to be a great year for us.
Okay, the guys from Coastal Carolina, you asked the question why we didn't get down to New Orleans. Very simple, Chris. As I told you last week in Nashville, the Sports Talk Pinto is being remade to be an EV.
There we go.
And I checked. There's no place between Atlanta and New Orleans to charge your car when you run out of juice. So I just on I-20, I just didn't think we could make it through the bayou. And
I don't know. We'll put some of that etouffee in there. I'm sure it would have been just fine. That could probably powered us all the way back to Columbia.
Who was that?
Etouffee.
Who is that?
Some of the New Orleans
offensive tackle for
yes, for LSU.
Is that a transfer offensive
Joe
tackle?
Etouffee.
Sounds like a transfer offensive tackle in the portal, John. Smitty, you got a big day tomorrow. Get your sleep because the Tigers are coming to town.
Absolutely. It is a big day. The lineup includes Mac Brown early in the morning because, as you know, he's got to get into bed by 5 p.m., so we got to get him in first. Dabo Sweeney joins us at 11, so stay tuned to SportsTalkSC.com. I'll be giving live updates of what Coach Sweeney has to say, and then, of course, we'll post that audio, and then we'll discuss it all. We'll pull it apart tomorrow night on Sports Talk. Dave Clawson of Wake Forest joins us tomorrow. He'll be in the big room. Headliner, Boston College's Jeff Hafley, the reason we're all here, will join us at 1:30, and then Dave Doran at NC State, 2:30. We'll have it all covered at SportsTalkSC.com.
Now, if you want to take a nap, just listen to Dave Doran for 10 minutes. Thank you, Smitty. Thank you, Chris. We'll have more from the Gamecocks as well for you tomorrow night, and Mike Morgan, too. And the Southern Conference is having their day tomorrow. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with them.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer Sizzle starts